You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. My feet have come too far for you to tie them to the ground. You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my sights on where I'm going at. They turn it back around. You can't stop me.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Psychic Call Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and joining me tonight is, and I'll let you introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, thank you so much for having me tonight.
You're very welcome. So tell us about your new project.
Yes, this is about my book called Ancestors.
Okay.
And it's about how we are here today because of them and how we should acknowledge them in our presence here today and the future generations to come. So this is a great opportunity to share with you today about all of these topics around.
Yeah. And that's something that I think has fallen out of culture here lately is dealing with ancestry and ancestry work and honoring them. I mean, if we go back to English historian times, graveyards were parks. Our kids were playing in them, they were having fun in them up until probably around the last century. And native indigenous people, they've always had a strong connection with the ancestors. So what do you think caused that disconnect there?
Well, for the beginning, I think it's not just in recent time, but we have found out that it was around something like 7,000 years ago, when there were many cultures around the world. Let's say around 13,000 cultures, different peoples.
Right.
And they were living all together with this planet, with what we call Mother Earth, with Gaia. But soon after, some societies, some cultures began to take over instead of taking care of life. So, and it is represented very well in several traditions, where some traditions say that this earth is to possess, to exert dominion or domination. So some culture began to go in a different direction than original peoples and nations. So it's a long story. Today, as you know, we have around half of those cultures, let's say around 7,000 different cultures, but many of them are at risk.
Right.
And what we are seeing is that today we also have less species because of the greed and commodification of nature. So that's why I see the disconnection. Some cultures are seeing nature as an object rather than a subject. So that's why I think that's the main difference that we have. And that's why there's that disconnection with ancestors and how we relate to nature and life.
Right, and how we're interconnecting with it. Do you see us being able to return to that?
Well, I think there's a big chance now because not just from human agency that is going to raise more awareness about consciousness, how we are treating life, but also because, as we can see, some elements of nature are speaking, let's say, are telling us that we are misbehaving. In other words, in more scientific terms, there is a climate change, a climate crisis that is happening because of this disconnection.
Right.
with nature. So there's a big chance because today the elements are speaking and are telling us that we cannot continue behaving as we have been doing for uh, many years,
Right.
especially from the Industrial Revolution and today, and how we use technology. Sometimes technology is not used to take care of life, but to take over and to damage life.
Okay. Can you go into that a little bit more?
Yes, technology is good when you use it for the good purpose. It's like words. Like the
Right.
words are good when you use them for the good purpose and you bless people and you treat people in a very good way. So technology is the same.
Right.
If you use to really to take care about life, then technology can support in the flourishing of life. But
Right.
there's technology that creates a lot of problems, like like the nuclear weapons or like technology that doesn't allow us to really work around the cycles of nature because we want to produce more and more and more and go against the cycles of nature and but there's a principle that we need to really respect from nature. We need to live with nature,
Mm-hmm.
not from nature, because when you produce more and more and more, you are exerting so much and you are exhausting the soil, exhausting the the air, and exhausting even labor.
Right. But that's more
So
of a human problem, I
yes,
think, than a technology problem. And here's why. You know, nuclear power could be very useful because it could cut down on the pollution, it could cut down on the circulation of the air, that type of thing. Nuclear weapons, problem. Major problem, has no usefulness to it. But man keeps trying to, it's like technology. You can take a tractor and you can plow 40 acres of land, and you can grow enough food to feed a village for a whole year on that 40 acres, and you move on to the next 40. But man gets so greedy with that and doesn't take the lessons, I think, from our history. So they plow 180 acres and try to feed a whole country.
sorry, can you repeat the question again because it was there was an
Right. I was saying about how, man has the problem. It's more, it's not the tool or the technology. It's more the man's greed, and we lost that lesson somewhere along the way.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
harmony and balance. And
yes,
your book really touches on that. It really digs in, and it takes a moment to really reflect about what you're writing to get the point that it's not really the tool, it's more the user of the tool.
that's right, that's
It's
right.
like, I'm going to use an old adage. You can take electric and you can cook a man's dinner, or you can take electric and kill a man. It's just your
That
choice how you use it,
yes, yes,
and I think that that's the problem. Because I think technology would be wonderfully used, possibly to even improve the earth and expand the earth, and to help the earth go through its what I call transition we're going through because of the overuse and the overcombobulation, the crappiness that has gone on. But we have to work in leagues with it.
yes. I think we need to really raise awareness about what is our why we are here in this world
Right.
as a species, as human species. What what is the real uh,
Purpose?
presence
Yeah.
of us? Because it seems that we are, of course, we are not the only species that we are creating chaos. There are other species, but mainly it's human agency
Yeah.
is is creating so much uh, disruption
Right.
around the life and other
Right.
people that are trying to thrive and survive.
Right.
So
And
that's the greed that is being produced. All of this discontinuities.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about this woman that traveled to foreign lands and began remembering lives there.
Yes, I think many have had this experience about when you travel to other places, you feel like a special energy, like something
Mm-hmm.
happens in ourselves that one can feel very comfortable or very there's an energy very familiar. It's like
Right.
it's like a loving place to be, and sometimes people really connect with
Mm-hmm.
those places, and some people even move to those places because it's where they really feel that connection with the sacred and that connection with the places, the
Mm-hmm.
territories. And
Right.
I remember myself going once to the north of Mexico, Guanajuato, and I
Mm-hmm.
was just walking around. I went to visit this community, and suddenly I began to feel something very peculiar. Like I was seeing, I was closing my eyes, and I could see even how it was before. It was
Mm-hmm.
very impressive,
Right.
and every time I remember that place, I really connect with that place.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I see that we have collective memories, but also special connections with some places that are keen to us, are very close to our hearts. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I see that ancestors are telling us or are guiding us
Mm-hmm.
in that path, in that way of reconnection with life.
Right. But my other thought of that is, are some of us not ancestors with previous files? Here's an example. There's a location that I go to, the Anchorage, and every time it's like I'm walking into my house. I literally feel like there's a housekeeper meeting me. We had a cooling issue one day because it was a blistering hot summer day up here in the mountains, and we don't get hot. And I'm like, well, you've got to do this, this, and this, and it actually cool. It's the building is designed to cool, and they're like, that's nowhere in our research. They done it, and the place cooled down to where at least it was inhabitable. Um, it's just weird some of the stuff. But how do you separate past knowledge, past lives, and ancestral common information?
Well, it's kind of it's difficult, but of course
Mm-hmm.
we can see that the past lives and past experiences in our thoughts, in our lives, in our sense. It's in my case, I think I'm highly connected with other ancestors
Mm-hmm.
because we are not just humans.
Right.
We are more than humans. We have this special connection with nature. We are nature.
Right.
We have connections with with the mountains, with the sea, with the sky. So in that sense, they are also our ancestors, and there are other entities and other deities that also connects with us, and depending the lineages you are bringing from your families or your
Mm-hmm.
clans. So that's why in this life we can distinguish somehow those past lives with this life that you have, and you have the responsibility to really honor.
Right.
And yes,
Yes. All right, guys. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about some different types of tribes that are actually going on and things going on around us. Shall we?
yes,
So
please.
awesome. Well, let's go ahead and take a break.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I provide a blended reading consisting of mediumship, psychic, and tarot cards. A reading from me can cover any guidance you need from relationships with your partner or your family, spiritual, financial, any questions you may need clarity on. If you would like to book an appointment with me, check out my website, tracyvann.com. That's TracyVann.com. I have bookings from 15 to 60 minutes you may choose from. That helps if you just have a quick question, need an answer, or if you're looking for a reading in more depth. I'm here to provide the guidance and clarity for you. Let's just figure it out. Bye.
Hi, I'm Dottie the Psychic, and I'm sure you're wondering why I'm not wearing any makeup. Well, one reason is to irritate my social media manager, Aeson Knight. Hi, Aeson. The other reason is because I like to get to the naked truth about what it means to be a neurodivergent LGBT person with psychic abilities. I've got vlogs, blogs, and podcasts and videos all related to trying to live my best life and helping witches and bitches do the same thing. So, you can check all that out and get a reading from Dottie the Psychic at DOTTIEthepsychic.com. Safe travel and much profit to you.
Hey everybody, Lady Gwendolyn here, and I am here to tell you how to get in contact with me and a little bit about what I do. I am the High Priestess that works with shadow work to help you grow and heal. And I work with access bars, Reiki, I do power forms. I'm recently getting into crystal healing, sound therapy as well. So you can go to Lady Gwendolyn Healing, that is LadyGwendolynHealing.com. Book your appointment with me. I do in person, I do over the phone, I do over Zoom. We can do that as well. My main goal is to help you grow and heal, because I've been there, I'm still going through it, and I let my strength help guide you. See you soon.
All right, welcome back. So we were talking about the different. I wanted to talk about the different traps that are listed in your book and some of the different entities we're dealing with, because we hear the standard, angels and ancestors and passed over loved ones. Who else are we dealing with?
Well, I think we are dealing with entities and deities that they have their presence and in nature and in what we don't see, but we can feel, like the air that we breathe. So, for example, when we talk about volcanoes, many of the volcanoes they have special energies, a special presence. Even and not just in the landscape, but also in the mindscape. But yes, but also in the spiritual world. Those entities, those special beings, they dwell in those sacred places, and we can see how they have the presence in this world by producing rain, producing some balance in our world. So we can name them, because in our dream time or in other aspects in the daily life, we can see how they can bring this special presence in several ways, like also producing special acts in the daily life. So let me tell you about, for example, in some volcanoes there are dragon deities. But in some lakes there are this what we call mermaids, or in the sea, or the two-headed eagles. So, and they have names. And we can call them when we carry out ceremony, and those are major ancestors, because they have been before humans were here. So that
we see carryover in that, like the two-headed eagle. We also see that in the documents of the Anunnaki. We see that in Egyptian hieroglyphics. Like, we see this from multiple cultural views of the same entity. So with that, How do we interlink with them now, or is that link lost?
Well, it's, in some cultures is lost,
Mm-hmm.
but in some others, like the original nations and peoples that we call indigenous peoples,
Mm-hmm.
is still kept by some of the guardians, some of the caretakers or the caregivers, that they still carry out those ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
So, as human beings, the connection is not completely lost. There are some societies, some cultures that still carry out this special and sacred connection. So, when you, for example, you want to reconnect with those entities, those deities, there is a way. For the beginning, let's honor the ones who really know how to carry out ceremony or those kind of rituals.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are connected, if you begin to connect,
Mm-hmm.
soon after it's like you are going to recover that connection in a beautiful way. So you have the chance, and we have the chance as human beings to reconnect with mystery, with so beautiful entities that are helping us how to keep balance. Or
Right.
sometimes they call our attention because we are not carrying out, we are not responsible for the care of life. So that's why we have to be in good connection with them, because these ancestors, if we really listen, they are telling us how to behave, how to live in peace with, among us and with Mother Earth, and also with the celestial bodies, because we are not alone.
Right. So I actually have a few questions that are a little all over the place. Some of this is in your book, some of this isn't in your book, some of this may be just knowledge. What do you have knowledge of the Hopi tribe?
The Kogi,
The Hopi?
the Hopi.
Yeah.
Oh, what I was telling you at the beginning, precisely. I remember it was in 1996. We were having this beautiful gathering in London, Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
And some spiritual leaders gathered to share prophecies.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the most powerful prophecies is the Hopi prophecy. And there is a stone. There is a stone that they were presenting in this gathering around the fire, and the stone is like a path where the humans were walking together at the beginning of the times, where life was flourishing. We were in good relationship with Mother Earth and nature. But then the path went into like this. The path was like this, and suddenly another path began to take another direction, like
Right.
going to the cliff, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So they were explaining this precisely because how humans, we have gone away from the original instructions, the original law, the law of nature and the law of the universe. And why then we are having all of these problems. And they were saying in like in an analogy how things were going to be in the near future, like the atomic bombs, like
Right.
representing in squash and making a big sound, all of that. So, but the most important thing here is that myself and Somoto Mitote, we have been working with the Hopi. And precisely 2 weeks ago, we were with Victor Masayesba. He's a very knowledgeable person from Hotevilla. And we are working about the creation story of the Otomi Toltec and how they are very sympathetic about these stories, the production that we created together, because he's a director of documentaries. And we presented this for the first time in a dome. We used the Codex Borgia, but the Borgia is just a name from the Pope, but it's a codex from Mexico.
Right.
It's
They had to give it a name and that Englishmen could pronounce.
yes. So you could see in one of these pages of the codex on top how the deities and how the creation story is telling us how we became humans, but we are always connected. We are never alone. We are always connected with these entities, these deities, as ancestors. So the Hopi also they have this connection with not just with the prophecy, but the connection with the mystery.
Right. And also, I don't know if it's the Hopi or if it's another tribe that they were investigating their settlement, and they found things that look like planes and things that look like one god that looked like a astronaut suit, that he was in an astronaut outfit, and different things there. And I find it interesting that we will classify them as English scientists can't wrap their head around why these items are there. What's your theory?
Well, we see that we are not alone, and we cannot be alone. We are not the only ones here in the. We think we are very intelligent. We are not so intelligent. If we were, we would be living in a better way. But let me tell you, there's intelligence everywhere in the universe.
Oh yeah, every bit of it
Everywhere.
has to be. Every bit of it has to be. Intelligence everywhere. Let's give him a second. He may be come back. He's using a cell phone. There we are. Welcome back.
So my theory and what I think is that there are so many other beings intelligent, even higher intelligence, stage higher intelligence in other places, in other planets, in other spaces, in other dimensions.
Right.
And we can see because in our prayers, in our connection, sometimes they materialize, and we can see them, and we can be with them, and in such a way that sometimes they visit this dimension, and they come once in a while.
And he keeps blinking out, guys. It's okay. He'll be right back. There we go. Welcome back.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is that we are not alone. And they do exist. We have had some experiences we cannot explain, and we don't want to understand.
Right.
We don't have to understand everything. It's just that we are not alone, and it's for sure that there are other.
My point is, we are not alone. Although I think currently, if any other being from another area of the galaxy drives by the Earth, it locks its doors and speeds through a little bit faster because we're a mess right now. But the Hopi did write about us going through. The Hopi, and I do believe the Mayans, both wrote about us going through this time. We got a lot of information about, and the media made a big hype about 2012, and everybody that had studied the Mayan calendar knew that in 4 days it started back over, the cycle continued.
Yes.
And that the immediate first ring of that Mayan calendar is messy. Like, they weren't bad artists. It was just, it's a messy time. What's your view on that?
Well, 2012 is very important because it's the ending of the long count of the calendar. But it was May 3rd, 2013,
right,
when it was the precisely the beginning of an accounting of 13 years, from May 3rd, 2013 to May 3rd, 2026. It's a 13-year process,
right,
to prepare ourselves as human beings to really follow the ancestral instructions about how we need to go through an examination, through a cleansing process.
Mm-hmm.
So another cycle is going to begin
Mm-hmm.
in May 3rd, 2026. So
Uh-huh.
we are passing all of these years.
Uh-huh.
They are very important because it's like these years is like a reflection that how we are living,
Mm-hmm.
how why we are here. We
Mm-hmm.
need to remember who we are as human beings.
Right.
So these calendars, these ancestral calendars, are telling us
Mm-hmm.
that we must live in cycles
Mm-hmm.
and not in a linear way of thinking.
Right.
So that's why the anthropocentric thought is not enough.
Right.
We need to reconnect with other beings. We need to go beyond this idea that we are the peak of the creation. We
Right.
are not. We are just another species.
Right.
So this calendar is telling us that it's not the ending of the story. It's just a new cycle that we are entering, and this is called in prophetic times the new dawn.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes from with the eagle and the condor prophecy as well,
Mm-hmm.
because the peoples who are raising consciousness are going to be able to come together in this unification process and work together and feel together and act together in such a way that we can thrive, because really these years are very critical, and we
Right.
are living. Oh, we can we can go from one place that let's say we are in a this beautiful Mother Earth that is, let's say, is an analogy, like a airplane. It
Uh-huh.
depends on us how we want to land.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to be a soft landing,
Mm-hmm.
a bumping landing, or a crash landing,
Exactly.
depends on our behavior.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'd love your viewpoint on this because I have my suspicions. As you know, Texas and that Texian area has gone through a major drought. And I'm
Yes.
talking, we did not get wheat this year. We didn't, no grass is growing, none of that. And then within, I would say, 72 hours, they got the same amount of water that they would have gotten all summer. Now, I have a high suspicion on a psychic level that there was some working going on, also some dancing going on, and some smoking going on to bring that water. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, from my what I've been seeing is that the four sacred elements are speaking.
Mm-hmm.
They are, they are just telling us
Mm-hmm.
and advising us to really turn the way.
Mm-hmm.
We really must be more humble in our ways of doing.
Right.
And there's another venue, like in legal terms.
Right.
Before the environmental law was very permissive.
Mm-hmm.
Now the rights of nature are coming in
Mm-hmm.
order to defend the rivers, the mountains, the paramours, and
Mm-hmm.
as subjects of rights.
Right.
So this is another story.
Right.
This is another story that is based in ancestral wisdom, because we have always said, the river is alive. The
Mm-hmm.
river God's spirit. The river is a being.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a thing. It's a being.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think what you are saying is so important, because we really need to raise consciousness
Right.
how we treat life, how we treat other species, other beings.
Right.
So
And it's important to entreat all beings, including the rivers, which, we reported here on this show, and we were talking about the insanity going on with the water rights around this country. Right now in Appalachia, where I am, we have major flooding going on. We have more water than we need. We have the technology, the same as we have to move oil, to be
yeah.
moving water.
Mhm.
It's insane that we can't be doing this. They'd rather fight for a freaking oil line than be
Yeah.
piping water into our grain belt.
Yeah.
That's insanity to me. What's your view?
That's insanity. And it's not other humans that are doing that. It's ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's all our responsibility, because sometimes we say, oh, they are doing this and they are doing this other.
Right.
But it's human species. That's the insanity that we are living through. So we need to. So the sacred elements are speaking, are
Yeah.
telling us, the droughts and the floodings and are going to happen even more and more and more and more until we understand,
Mm-hmm.
until we don't have any other option to stop this massacre, to
Right.
stop this ecocide.
Mm-hmm. And to change this eco set, because we need to get back into balance and we need to restore that balance. It's like if you tear up something, you have to take glue and fix it. You can't just not do that. But also getting back into the natural cycles of growing food, of seasonal food, of balancing food. The earth will give us everything that we need and desire. If you want to go from the viewpoint of manifestation, or you want to go for the viewpoint that this is a simulation, or the viewpoint from many other traditions that says the earth will care for the humans as a race. But we have to
Yes.
get on the same page and be telling Mama Earth, we love you, we care for you, we'd like some more of those tomatoes, please.
Yeah.
Scientists have proven talking to plants actually causes a chemical change in the plant. Why it's taken them so long to figure this out is ridiculous to me.
Yes. You know, as you say, there is enough technology that can support
Right.
and turn things in the right side.
It very much.
But and it can even create some what we call jobs
Mm-hmm.
to to
Right.
really take care about life. But why some people is so greedy that they don't want to lose any penny? And why isn't there reciprocity with Mother Earth? Because
Right.
Mother Earth takes care of us. We must take care about this beautiful planet, and
Mm-hmm.
it's so beautiful. It's so giving, and wherever I go, in around the world, you can see the magnificence, the beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's untouched, it's so beauty, and where it's touched, but with love, you can see some beautiful cities that
Mm-hmm.
they are, mixed with the environment, and it's so beautiful. But also there are some cities that are completely awful, out
Mm-hmm.
of place, small communities that they don't have any planning, and they
Right.
just uh, stain the water, stain the air, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no planning.
Right. And if they don't fit, they don't belong. Even the people there do feel like they don't belong. Um,
That's right. That's right.
and then the other thing is the inequality within the tribes. We need to get over this. This group is better than this group, and these people, we're all damn
That's
people.
right.
Let's stop this crap,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And get together and actually come to a peace circle and go, okay, how are we going to fix everything? Like we've been stupid for about, I don't know, 1,700 years. Let's fix this. What's your view on that?
Well, I think we have enough technology,
Mm-hmm.
enough knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
but we must have wisdom.
Right.
We must regain wisdom about how to put into place,
Right.
how to carry out things. Any project,
Right.
any action should be taken into consideration not just the matter, but also the spirit.
Right.
That sacred relationship that we need and we have lost.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember I was watching this movie, 20, 2040, 2045. I remember the exact
Mm-hmm.
number, but they were presenting all different technologies, how to really take care about production, food
Mm-hmm.
production, around how to displace fossil fuels,
Mm-hmm.
fossil fuels use,
Right.
and with good energy. So I think we have what we need. It's
Right.
just that we really need to be together
and to be using it together.
in unity.
Yeah.
And you know, because as you say, oh, this group is better than this group, and even the political parties or the religions and so on, and so many, you know, businesses. It's just let's go from competition to collaboration.
Right. You know,
That's what it is.
right. And coming to agreements and keeping those agreements is very highly important. And respecting the stewardship we have,
Yes.
like that's something that has been lost from all tribes because it's everywhere. You know, if we want to go Judeo-Christian, we
Yes,
were put in
everywhere.
charge of the care of the land. If we want to go, you know, I'm going to use old terms and I'm sorry, but I have to go with what I'm taught. If we want to go indigenous people, every one of them have a level of either respect, abide, comfortability for the land and for the animals and for the medicines. And every one of them, when you get into it, are the same dang mountain and everyone's walking the same path up. I don't care what religion you practice, what spirituality you have, what idealism you have, what scientific idea. It's all the same. I mean, some of these debates we get into are halfway stupid. And I do mean stupid
Mm.
in
Yeah.
most of time. But then there's so much knowledge out there that is at our fingertips. If I'm going to learn traditional practices of New Mexican ancestry, I can do that. I can sit there and Google and I can find me a teacher and I can travel my butt all the way down to that hot area and sit and listen to story after story after story.
Yeah.
Right now, we're
I
in
think,
a magical place. If we would
yes, if we have the will, we
Mhm.
can do it. We can do it.
Yeah.
And I think you know, we can learn from each other.
We can.
And there is a responsibility to do that, because if we want to really to make it to drive as human beings,
Mhm.
there is no other option
Right.
but unity, but this unification process, because you know, we are responsible
Mhm.
now for what is happening in the world.
Right.
And we if we are through examination, we are not doing very well,
No.
you
No.
know.
No, we're not doing good stewardship. I'll give you that one. All right, darling, let's take another break and we'll be back. And then I want to talk about what you're doing, your other projects, your other books you got coming, okay?
Okay.
Awesome. Do you have a cute pet? We know you do. Each week, Tracy Van chooses from submitted photos a featured reader for her Facebook page and provides a tarot reading. Your adorable pet cat, dog, rabbit, goat, chicken, snake, or more could be her next featured reader. Visit tracyvan.com, TracyVann.com, and click Featured Reader to submit. We look forward to seeing your pet next. All right, we're back. Okay. So what are you up to? You've got the book out, you're doing your book tour. What else are you working on? Because I see many file cabinets back there. That tells me you got a lot of research running.
Yes. Thank you. Well, I have been for the last years receiving these instructions from the heart of the this beautiful Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta in Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there exist 4 peoples: the Kogi, the Cancuamo, the Huaco, and the Wiwa.
Mm-hmm.
So we gathered over there in 2013. By the way, 2013 it was a very special year,
Mm-hmm.
and we received these Earth mandates instructions. So I have been working ever since about the acknowledgement of the spiritual authority of original nations and peoples, so-called indigenous peoples.
Okay.
And this is to bring together elders, wise elders, sage elders, to conform the Eagle and the Condor Council for the first phase. The second phase is going to be the Council of 13, and third phase is going to be the Grand Council of 52. So, which are going to represent the bio regions around the world, but also sacred sites. So we have done this last year. We confirmed the Eagle and the Condor Council. We were in Mexico. So we are about to come together again this coming year for hopefully the gathering to bring together the 13 elders to be together and conform this council. But the purpose of this council is to really not just to acknowledge the spiritual authority of original nations and peoples, but also to interact with the world, to give messages around the ancestral wisdom, how to live in peace and harmony with Mother Earth and the celestial bodies, and any traditional ecological knowledge that is meaningful for humanity. So that's the main thing. But the second mandate is about the protection and activation and reactivation of sacred sites.
Right.
So for that, I have been working with UNESCO.
Okay.
I produced the very first draft for the protection of biocultural sacred sites around the world. Because just for your knowledge, there is no regime in the world that protects sacred sites.
There isn't. We're at high risk right now of losing many of them.
Yes.
Like by the behavior going on.
Yeah.
This is why we're not getting anything out of Egypt. This is why we haven't seen anything out of Afghanistan. This is why we haven't seen any protection going on about sacred sites. They're acting like they don't care for them, even in their own religions. And then, Stonehenge has been preserved, but none of the wooden circles have been preserved. None of the sacred sites in North Carolina have been preserved. None of the sacred sites in South America. You can literally walk into Pompeii right now. No one's going to stop you from carrying off an artifact. What was it? Last week we heard the Met was busted with almost 250 pieces of artifacts that needed to be returned.
Yes. Well, that's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Because of the greed of oil companies, mining companies, and the greed of logging companies, and even the urban sprawl. They don't even take care about the sacred sites. So, but why they are so important? They are so important because they are the energetic places that produce the energy for all beings to thrive. So that's why they are so important. It's like in an analogy, like in our bodies, we have all of this body. If you lose a hand, you can still be alive. But if you are losing the energetic points, like your heart or some place that is very important, you can die. That's what is happening to our Mother Earth. That is really suffering.
Right.
So
information and possibly medicine for some of these new diseases. We're seeing rampant diseases on this earth, but we got someone logging and burning the Amazon forest when we don't even have scientists down there categorizing the plants yet or what their uses are.
That's yes, it's it's very frustrating how we see this is happening in our eyes, in front of our eyes,
right?
Because nobody can say that. Oh, we didn't know. We didn't know. There's people who already, of course, they know what they are doing, and they are doing it on purpose because the greed is so high. So, so that's a struggle for life, and that's a struggle that we need to face sooner the better.
Yeah.
So so that's the second mandate that we are taking into consideration about protection of sacred sites. But also we are going to those places that are most affected. So we have completed phase 1. We have gone to Mount Fuji, Mount Etna in Italy, Mount Fuji in Japan, Mount Etna in Italy, and Mount Blanca around the Four Corners in the United States.
Right.
But because they are interconnected.
That's what I was doing. Aren't those connected? Because if you watch the earthquake map, you can see that Italy will have an earthquake. It'll echo.
That's right.
It echoes into like normally either India or somewhere in the Pacific, and then it echoes here in the United States. It's an echo.
Exactly. That's how it is all interconnected. So our mission is to go to those places and pay respect to those entities that who dwells there, but also make offerings and payments, you know. And we have gone, and so we are entering to the second phase. We are going to go to Mount Shasta, and then later on to Peru, to several mounts, and also to Uluru in Australia, and Mount Kailash. And we are working with another team. This month, exactly, we are going to go to the Azores, to that beautiful volcano, and then we are going to Greenland for the ley lines this month.
Right. So you're working the 38th parallel ley lines, or are you working a different level of them?
Different levels. But there's a study over there, and we are working with some elders from South Africa, New Zealand, and Hawaii, and the Americas. So we are a team that this work is not very well known. We are beginning to let the public know about this, because it was a very private, let's say private thing, more than sacred, let's say sacred than secret.
Sounds better.
Yes, sacred. Yeah. So, but now it's time for the people to know that we are carrying out this work, so we can bring balance and healing for Mother Earth. So that's the second mandate. And the third mandate is the establishment of the houses of original thought, which means houses of original thought. Those are the spiritual houses where we can bring elders around the fire and talk with the younger generations, the youth, or even with somebody who wants to learn from ancestral wisdom.
Right.
And not just from ancestral wisdom, but contemporary wisdom of original nations and peoples, how we can reconnect, how we connect with mystery. So those are the houses of original thoughts. We have one in Mexico, another one in Colombia, in Sasaima, and there is another one in Chichimilá in Yucatan, and there is another one in Ecuador. But by the year 2026, we must have at least 13 houses of original thought. There are many, but I mean, just the new ones that we are building.
Right.
So we are working on that, and also the four mandate of the four instruction is to the intercultural dialogue and intercultural exchange.
Okay.
So which means that we can bring the sacred economy, the exchange, among people, among regions, but also exchange of ideas.
Right.
And around that, there's a beautiful thought that we are sharing.
Okay.
To recover beautiful thinking, beautiful thoughts. Think beautifully. It's very important, because it creates also this energy. So if we have those thoughts, we could have clean ideas.
Right. And new ideas that are really old.
So we don't disturb, and we honor nature.
Right.
We honor life. So that's why this for Earth mandate is very important, because we go to the COPs for the climate change, the COPs for the Convention of Biological Diversity, and we make our presence over there, and we give these messages.
Right.
But because we are tired of so much blah blah, but also what we are bringing is that how we are doing, how it's not just how we adapt and mitigate climate change, but how we continue living in peace and harmony as original peoples and nations, and all people is welcome to carry out that because it's all our responsibility.
Right.
So these are the major process, but also in the fountain with the Mother Earth delegation, we are working about recovering the ancestral territories, bring back the lands and the territories in the hands of original peoples and nations.
Right.
Because at least, there's greed also in many original nations and peoples.
Oh, yeah.
But we still have that way of thinking, how we relate to nature.
Right.
And that's why 80% of biodiversity and cultures, biocultural heritage, is in the original nations and peoples' territories.
Right.
That's why, because we still have that sacred connection with nature.
Right.
We still have that love for Mother Earth, and that's why our presence in this fora is important.
Right. And it's very important. And the exchange of knowledge is very important. And seeing that it's like what color, many people describe the color of the sun as orange or yellow or blue because it's what they see it as. But they're all describing the same thing. And getting people to understand that is so difficult. So why don't we take another break? And when we come back, if you want to stay for a moment, that'd be great. I would love to hear for someone just starting to work with ancestry work. Some simple ways that they can start connecting to their ancestors and build from there, okay?
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I provide a blended reading consisting of mediumship, psychic, and tarot cards. A reading from me can cover any guidance you need from relationships with your partner or your family, spiritual, financial, any questions you may need clarity on. If you would like to book an appointment with me, check out my website, tracyvan.com. That's TracyVann.com. I have bookings from 15 to 60 minutes you may choose from. That helps if you just have a quick question, need an answer, or if you're looking for a reading in more depth, I'm here to provide the guidance and clarity for you. Let's just figure it out. Bye.
Hi, I'm Aeson Knight. I provide tarot readings covering everything from love and relationships to your life questions and your spiritual answers. And also, I provide a lot of guidance in finances and divorces and all those relationship problems. So, if you'd like to get a reading from me privately, not on air, you can feel free to do so by visiting aesonknight.com and booking your appointment. I also provide on-demand services, so if your life is a little chaotic, you can go ahead and click that call now button there on my site. All right, guys, back to the show. Enjoy. Bye, y'all. All right, and we're back. So how do you recommend, now I'm going to give you scenarios so you can understand who you're talking to. People that haven't worked with ancestors, that don't know their family traditions, and that have gone through what I call the mid-40s on to today of the divorce of the ancestral connection. They take, the pallbearer handles the grave, they drop flowers off twice a year to the graves they remember. How do people start working from your point of view with their ancestors?
Yes, first of all, I think they need to acknowledge that they belong to a family and also to a community where they were born. For the beginning, they need to understand and they need to do research where they come from and how they are related to those places where they came from. And another way is, many people is now carrying out these examinations about blood testings.
Mm-hmm.
Is another way as well. Is I think is important
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes we have so many connections,
Mm-hmm.
but we need to understand that there is a very special connection with one of the lineages that we come from,
Mm-hmm.
and what is the call. So that's one way to really reconnect, but also during the dream time, we need to pay attention about if we pose one of these intentions in the
Mm-hmm.
dream time. The dreams are going to tell us some information about how we can reconnect. And I think people who really wants to reconnect with the ancestry and the ancestors is a way a step forwards
Mm-hmm.
because there is an intention already there.
Right.
So it's not going to be easy
Right.
because you need to walk in such a way in reverence,
Mm-hmm.
even in the place where you are. So
Right.
wherever you go, you need to ask permission
Mm-hmm.
and acknowledge the people who were there before, and the mountains and the lakes and the rivers,
Mm-hmm.
because they are guiding, they are going to guide us, and they are watching us, they are telling us how to reconnect again. So
Okay.
it's a process.
Right.
But the intention is the first most important phase that we have to take into consideration, because if you don't have intention about to recover your lineage,
Mm-hmm.
how you are related to the place and space,
Mm-hmm.
time and space is very important. So
Right.
that's how I recommend at least to acknowledge also this being that we are living in, this Mother Earth, but also the Father, Son, and the other celestial bodies. How
Right.
we reconnect with them, then it's like a process that we are going to know why we are here and how I am connected to the ancestors.
Right. And you bring up a very important point because there's a lot of debate right now on occupied land. We'll call it occupied land because that's the best term I've got for it. Um, of America and as of all the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
And we have people that feel very oppressed because they've inherited land, own land, and then other people that have a lot of connection with the land. Example, I live in the Appalachians. I actually
Mm-hmm.
live in the New River Valley, where, this land technically was almost 8 different tribes,
Mm-hmm.
and they all shared this land,
Yes.
you know, and there's different viewpoints from the tribes because one, the Apache tribe that we know would not live here. They would hunt here, they would come eat fish here, but they would not settle here.
Mm-hmm.
But we have settlers here. Like there's whole functioning civilization here. Is there a way to bring that energy, that sacred energy of the Appalachians back into hold? Is it wrong that we own this land and are living on it? Or is it, we need to take a look at both eyes and put them together?
Well, there are several processes, and I think we should approach a sui generis way of doing this,
Mm-hmm.
because what I think is that the people who really loves the place, and you are, for example, you are a newcomer to the Appalachian place. Well, if you really take care about the place, and you really love the place, and you share that
Mm-hmm.
place with others, then there is no problem. But I think also it's needed to give respect to those people who were before,
Mm-hmm.
and to carry out the ceremonies and rituals that they used to carry out,
Mm-hmm.
and work together.
Right.
But if there's people who really don't, they feel that they own the land
Mm-hmm.
instead of taking care.
Right.
I think that's another mindset that is killing Mother Earth,
Right.
because it doesn't allow for
Right.
for flourishing of life. Because there are restrictions and these laws and these others that
Right.
they just take
Yeah.
over and take advantage. And if the greed is there, then I don't think there's some sharing. So there must be reciprocity with all
Agree.
this. Reciprocity.
Right. And then you have cultures like the Romney that have been forced to settle. You have other migrant cultures that have been forced to settle. Do you think that there will ever be a time that there won't be such a requirement laws that you have an address that your children have to go to the same school? If you move more than 3 times in a year, CPS is knocking on your new door. How are we in the viewpoint from your viewpoint, how are we going to deal with the migrant mobilizational cultures?
Well, it's been always,
Mm-hmm.
it's historical. It's been like that.
Yeah.
It's been like that. We just need to remember.
Mm-hmm.
But how you carry out this?
Yeah.
That's the problem. And I think we need new covenant, new protocols
Mm-hmm.
based in ancestral wisdom. How we share. You said the word, the magic word, sharing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we own the land,
Right.
because we take care about the land.
Right.
We give care.
Mhm.
That's another notion of being
Right.
with life. So from that, I think there's a big chance to come together in this unification process, where we
Mhm.
can learn from each other how to really, I could learn from you in these modern times how to carry out something that is lost in one of the ancestral cultures.
Mhm.
But and also the other way, how you can learn from ancestral culture, how to really know what kind of soil is this, or how we can recover some
Mhm.
techniques that we can enhance the ecology,
Right.
or how we can enhance the flourishing diversity.
Right. Very much so. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And we put the link out for your book, and they'll be in the show notes for the ones listening to the podcast. Go to Amazon, grab the book. Of course, you came from Sacred Connections, and that is wonderful. And please, when you have your next book out, join us again. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Thank you. You have a
Thank you.
great evening. Okay, guys, we're going to take a sip, and we'll be right back. All right. Hi, Joe. How are you, honey child?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. How are you this evening?
Oh, rocking as best we can. Rocking as best we can.
Very awesome. Very awesome. I didn't get to catch all of tonight's guests, but it sounded like a great, great author to have on the show. So
Has been a great author. I really like the book Ancestors, and working within there, and there's a lot of knowledge in it. Guys, I want to tell you, you're going to need a notebook. You're going to need a notebook working through this book, connecting with the information. And as always, I say do a little extra digging. Research is a wonderful thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, since we're kind of done a little bit of this, I want to talk about something I ran across earlier today.
Oh.
Medieval vampire unearthed with stake across her throat to stop her from rising from the dead.
With a sickle across her throat.
Yeah.
To stop her. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
All right. So experts found the female body with a sickle across his throat, pinning it to the ground. The sickle was not laid flat, but placed on the neck in such a way that if the deceased had tried to get up, most likely the head would have been cut off or injured.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So this was found during an archaeological work at a 17th century cemetery in the village of Pien in southeastern Poland.
Mm-hmm.
I said that correctly. She had a silk cap on her head indicating high social status and a protruding tooth. Strangely, one of her toes was also secured with a padlock. They really didn't want her getting out of this grave.
They did not want her getting out of this grave. However, I have one comment for these researchers. Put her back. Okay. Put her back, put her back, put her back. There's a couple people I follow on TikTok that brought this story to my attention, and I'm like, we ain't have. There, for those that have vampire on your bingo card, go ahead and mark it, but put her back. I don't want to know what she has in her Swiss vault. You do not need her back up. Put her back.
Oh yeah. Hey Brenda. So yeah, no, I'm pretty sure no one was wanting this one to come back.
No.
Like, no, I think we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, we good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Speaking of put them back,
Mhm.
there came a ruling today that you were very excited about out of New Mexico.
Well, I think that we all should be, actually, because it really does start to change the landscape of the January 6th event.
Insurrection.
Well, see, that's
terrorism.
been, well, hold on. See, that's been a little bit of a thing,
Mm-hmm.
is we've been dealing with the events of January 6th,
Mm-hmm.
but we haven't quite had any rulings that set the exact stage for what that event was.
Right.
Well, today, believe so. So a New Mexico judge ordered Otero County Commissioner Coy Griffin to be removed from office, effective immediately, ruling that the attack on the Capitol was an insurrection,
Mm-hmm.
and that Griffin's participation in it disqualified him under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. So this decision marks the first time since 1869 that a court has disqualified a public official under Section 3, and the first time that any court has ruled the events of January 6, 2021 an insurrection. I mean, what we kind of all, like, everyone knew this,
Mm-hmm.
but no one's actually said this.
Right.
So it's been kind of wonky there.
Right. See, and here's the thing in general that gets me. Judges aren't blind. Judges watch the news. Lawyers watch the news. Why does this even have to be declared an insurrection is beyond me. Why this even has to be declared domestic terrorism is beyond me. Why we are not using the laws that were created during the 1800s, since they want to bring back other laws from the 1800s. Excuse me. Let's go back to the real laws of the 1800s and tar and feather their asses.
Well, but on this one, I will say that I am grateful that we're starting to recognize this as for what it is, which was an insurrection. Like, we've used the words, others have used the words, but legally it's still just basically been the events and people's participation in those events of January 6th. And most of the determinations have just been about whether that conduct was criminal at all, and then what, if anything, should be done about it. And everyone's tried, it seems, really hard to steer clear of being like, yeah, you participated in an insurrection. Right. Because that has very big meaning. Right. And it does open up people to a lot of scrutiny. Right. As well as very likely, if they have participated in any meaningful way, any major meaningful way. Right. Not just, necessarily like, oh, I think January 6th was a great show of, whatever. Because, the Republican Party jumped on that bandwagon as hard as they could, trying to, like, downplay it.
They're trying to keep votes. They're trying to keep situations.
Yeah,
but the hard facts of it.
Okay.
Okay. They need all 10 years in prison. They all need to be fined 75% of their worth. And if any, and I do mean any, including Marjorie Green and Lady B, both, and anyone else that was involved in this bullshit, including the prerequisite of inciting it, all need to be held accountable
Yes.
and
Well,
disqualified.
okay. So, but what I was going to bring up was effectively, there's been a major effort to downplay.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a major effort to try to distance, and I'm speaking of politicians, try to distance themselves from the event, but also seem understanding of their voting base and why they've gone and done this.
Mm-hmm.
Like trying to straddle that fence.
Right.
And then basically trying to sit there and make sure that like they are being in some way credited
Mm-hmm.
as a sympathizer,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily an active participant, because obviously they couldn't, but and then you have actual Republican members who were doing everything they could, it seemed,
Mm-hmm.
to
Right.
be directly involved.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that we have kind of, and I'm sure this is going to get appealed, there's no way in hell.
Right.
But for the moment, at least, it does open the door
Mm-hmm.
to other people who were involved
Right.
being considered in the same way.
Right.
Because basically, like, and that's where the appeal may come down to, is because there's going to be an appeal.
There's going to be appeals and appeals and appeals and wasting of taxpayer dollars and wasting of taxpayer dollars. When there's photo and video evidence, believe what you see.
Well, but here's the question is, so of course this is going to start in New Mexico. It's going to go through, circuit court and all, like, work its way up, because they're not going to let this go.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, this is major repercussions.
Right.
Or potential for major repercussions if that event is deemed an insurrection under Section 3 of Amendment 14.
Right.
That basically any political representative who is involved or tried to make themselves involved could be found to be an insurrectionist and disqualified from public service.
Right.
So, oops, you went a little too far on January 6th is what this means right now. So there is going to be, an appeal. I will guarantee it.
Right.
The question is, if it goes up to the Supreme Court with its current makeup, what does this become?
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that I'm kind of fearful of that one.
I'm not. And here's
because
why. Here's why. There is no wiggle room.
Yeah.
The 1869 section of the law they're talking about, there is no the or they or any wiggle room. This law was written so tight that at some point there were people that were not even able to be dog catchers or sheriffs in a town.
Right. Well, it's not meant to be a law with a lot of wiggle room, but the fundamental problem that we've been facing, and the reason that we're facing the issues that we are with Roe v. Wade, is because that turned into a definitive political line breakdown of voting, of ruling.
Right.
That's why I worry about this going to the Supreme Court.
Right.
Because this could turn quite ugly, because you have, in the general populace at least, one group of people that are like, it's an insurrection. Like, are you effing stupid? It's an insurrection. That's what they did. And then you have another group going, no, that's not what occurred. They were just peacefully protesting.
Right.
Okay. Here's my problem is with the Supreme Court that we currently have, if we end up
Right.
with a ruling that
Mhm.
states no, it's not an insurrection, it was a peaceful protest.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, holy shit.
Yes.
Oh, holy shit.
Well, see,
The problems this creates.
but I look at the echoes of history,
Mhm.
and here's my fear of the echo of history:
Okay.
that in 200 years,
Mhm.
we will still have these ugly blue flags floating around, and people finally removing them.
Oh, no, I don't think they paid for good enough flags for them to still be here in 200.
Right.
I mean, I think we can all agree. I don't think
This is why everyone needs to take voting very seriously right now and get moving with it.
Oh yeah, that definitely.
Yeah.
But we're still stuck, at least
Right.
unless we add additional members to the Supreme Court,
Which we're headed
with a
to.
very biased Supreme Court. But here's where I worry about this, is because they've done everything that they can to vote on party line, or to rule on party line.
Right.
And in doing so,
Mm-hmm.
they did a major screw up under Roe v. Wade.
Right.
If you compound that by deeming January 6th not an insurrectionist event
Mm-hmm.
in legal definition,
Right.
that you turn blind eye to all facts and go, nope, wasn't an insurrection because my party tells me so.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the damage you could do to this country in one ruling.
Right. But at the other side of this, and the bigger party of this, will be the determination of when it gets to the Supreme Court, because this isn't a straight shot. These
No, it's not.
This. We still have hopes that others are not going to be on the Supreme Court. We still have hopes of the court expanding. We also have a new judge on the Supreme Court. We do not know exactly how she will handle this and other matters. Now, she's been very, very conscientious by not ruling on cases that she would have influence in. There comes a problem, though, because we have a justice on the Supreme Court that is directly related to this situation by his wife.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's many layers of problems with this.
Okay. So we may even have to go to what is called a special court to handle these matters, as we had to do during the ungraceful time after the Civil War. There were many things that had to be adapted and handled, and special courts set up to, and special tribunals to handle, including, and it took up until 1907 for the decision on whether Confederate soldiers got benefits. Look at that. That is 45 years of time that things had to be sorted out before the four precedents came along.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot to this. It's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of different issues. I am happy for one case finally saying, no, that was an insurrection.
Right.
And at least one politician who was associated with this no longer being able to serve. I am happy for that.
Right.
So don't get me wrong. I'm just fearful that this could easily work its way. Like right now, if it could jump to the Supreme Court right now,
right,
as it stands,
right,
it could get real ugly real fast.
Right.
In terms of what a ruling based on party lines would do to Civil War, basically, again.
Right.
Because if you don't call January 6th an insurrection, if you don't allow that, then, yeah, we're screwed.
Right.
That's where I'm at.
Right.
Like, and I have legitimate fear that right now, the way they're voting or the way they're ruling. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying voting instead of ruling tonight, but the way they're ruling, it's not based on the case. It's based on political ideology, which is never supposed to have happened. What the hell? This isn't supposed to happen in a Supreme Court.
Right.
No.
Well, again, we have a lot of laws that are being ignored. I don't know if they're being ignored just because they're old or if they're being ignored for a reason. But we have to, and I do repeat, have to get to the real laws, get to the real things that our forefathers put down, understand that these laws were designed for a period of time, and execute those laws. That means that we have to get people that are actually part of the Constitutional Congress, that are actually part of the constitutional ideaism, and even the Electoral College is part of all this. And it's a very big thing for a rebellion to be handled. And then we are at the point now that it has come very clear that there was a rebellion. It has become very clear to address the rebellion. It has become very clear that our security has been put at risk by somebody that invalidatedly held supposedly an office, even though he did not continue the job.
Right. Yeah. It is a lot.
Right.
And it's going to take a long time to sort out. This is definitely a time period in history that's going to be woo! We're talking about the 2020s.
Right.
And everyone's going to be like, oh, God.
There are a lot of things that happened in the 1920s, and the 1907s, and the 1910s. This is not something our country has not done before. What is the problem is no one was taught fucking history completely. No one has not gone and dug into these laws. Do you know that right now a citizen of New Mexico could sue to take this man's home and property because he has participated in an insurrection? In New Mexico, that is against the law. In New Mexico, that means that everything can be sued for and taken from him. These laws were designed to punish the South. These laws were designed to punish people that do this.
For good reason.
Yes.
It was never meant to be it's not touch football when you bring this in. This is, oh, you screwed up so bad.
Right.
Well, one thing we can say that we don't have is prohibition, which, as a reminder, lasted from 1920 to 1933.
Well, we currently do not have prohibition.
Oh, no. Please, no.
However, if we look at it, we are, in a way, tripping on that line. Very kindly. Prohibition to women's rights. The same legal case is being presented. It's a moral ideaism that not all agree with.
Oh, yeah.
It's a moral judgment going on. It is the same freaking case.
Well, but we're starting to legalize marijuana, which is a reminder. I think we banned that in the 1920s, didn't we?
I believe we did. To save the paper companies.
Yeah. Trying to remember. Because I think it was right about that.
Right.
Oh, the history of marijuana. Where is it? Oh, hurry up and just give me the date. So, yeah, the Hearst Empire, yada, 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 yada. Yeah, I think it was right there in the 1920s.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's when all this really took off.
Hmm.
It like it starts in the 1920s fundamentally,
Hmm.
and then no, it went flipping nuts in the 1930s.
And it really doesn't even start there. That's where legal laws started becoming a problem. Where it really
Well, yeah.
started was in the 1890s to 1910, when vices and moral ideas began changing, and they began feeding children cornflakes to control their pubescent years.
Well, yeah, and then you turn around, you also have like you have a lot going on there. Just a side note, like early 1900s is really cool, but
Hmm.
scary.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, cool in a like, oh wow, that's amazing. Not oh, that was a really good thing we did there, but whoa, that's a lot going on.
Right.
Really cool period in like US history is because there's just so much crap going on.
Right.
Like the early, like that first 40 years
Hmm.
of the 1900s is like, holy, can y'all slow down a minute?
Right.
Like there are 2 wars going on
3.
in that period. Oh, excuse me, 3. Then you turn around, you've got like you have the MPAA, the early infancy of MPAA ratings on movies,
Hmm.
known as the Hays Code.
Hmm.
That starts in there with
Hmm.
the decline, so to speak, as it was termed,
Hmm.
of morality
Right.
in movie making.
Hmm.
Like it's just really weird, all the stuff going on at like the same time.
Right.
That you had movies that today we're just starting to get back to, so to speak, that level of production,
Hmm. Right.
in terms of movies that were considered scandalous and risque.
Right. But at the same
um
time, we have things going on like hidden things. There's a lovely YouTube series called The Gay History of Horror, and it's
mhm.
very interesting. And
Oh
it's
hell yeah.
really takes on about that time. So if you guys, after we're done here, and you do the likey and the YouTubey and the Facebooky things, go type in Gay History of Horror. It's very interesting.
Mhm.
And watch some history. Watch some deep history. Get into some really deep history, and you'll be able to look at stuff and go, "Oh fuck, didn't we already learn this lesson?"
Yeah.
All right, so let's go into, are you the asshole?
Am I the asshole for hosting a fundraiser, bluntly saying that it was for a teenager whose parents left her homeless? Her parents are furious. My youngest daughter is a senior in high school. One of her best friends, Lily, just turned 18 as the school year was starting, and her parents kicked her out of the house that same day. My daughter told me she was sleeping on different friends' couches and talking about dropping out to work a job. So my family took her in so she could finish school. I just can't imagine a parent kicking their kid out like that. So, after we did that, my daughter and Lily decided to have a community barbecue bake sale to fundraise for some money to cover food and housing expenses. It wasn't anything I ever asked for, but the girls wanted to do something to contribute for groceries and bills.
Mm-hmm.
The girls made flyers and little promos for social media, and they were pretty straightforward about what was going on. They said community barbecue fundraiser for Lily, and a note from Lily saying, as you may know, my parents kicked me out of the house and cut off any financial support on my 18th birthday, leaving me homeless with no money or car. The Smiths, as in OP's last name, gave me a home expecting nothing in return except that I stay in school and graduate. I wanted to do something to give back and pay my own way. Anyway, I shared that on social media, and so did the girls and a lot of their friends at school. The barbecue was a huge success. Almost all of our neighbors came by, and so many kids from my daughter's school, and a lot of our family and family friends. The girls ended up raising several $1,000s, which I ended up putting in an education fund for Lily, where I'm also putting stuff like the cash she gives me from her job for groceries and stuff like that. I'm planning on surprising her with it closer to graduation. Anyway, Lily's parents are irate. They saw that I posted the flyer on the community Facebook page, and most everyone in town saw it. I got a call from her dad screaming into the phone at me for slandering their family online, which I felt was such bullshit. I told him to either back up and act like a parent ought to or lose my number. He started yelling on the phone again, so I hung up and blocked his number. Then I got a bunch of calls from another number. It was Lily's mom getting angry at me about how I don't know what she and her husband have been through. And it was trashy of me to be begging the whole town for money for myself and acting like it was their fault. I was like, well, it was your fault. And she got so angry and said that she and her husband had given their daughter everything and that she was ungrateful, which I feel is BS because they aren't even giving her a roof over her head. Am I the asshole for letting my daughter and her friend, who was kicked out at 18, host a fundraiser that was very blunt that it was to raise money after her family kicked her out? Edit, I wanted to give a massive thank you for everyone in the comments who gave us advice. Whether it's legal advice, resources for getting financial assistance for education, school or community resources, etc. There's so much I'm planning on following up on now, especially the education stuff. I'm kind of overwhelmed by the response, so I haven't replied to each of you individually. ... Blah, blah, blah. All right. You are so not the asshole.
Right, which just by like they had to stop postings because this was reaching the am I the asshole thing. No, you're not the asshole. If anything, the parents are. And this occurs a lot. This occurs a lot in families. This occurs a lot in homes. This occurs a lot in things. People go, oh, I don't know anyone's been kicked out when they're 18. Bullshit. There are parents with countdowns.
Yeah. I was probably fortunate. I turned 18 after I graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
Just in general.
Right.
Because Dad was very much of the mindset of you're 18 now, figure it the fuck out.
Right.
At least in conversation and theory.
Right.
I'm sorry. If you're a high school student, I don't care when you turn 18.
Right.
You're a high school student. You are your parents' responsibility till you graduate high school. At least within a reasonable time frame.
Right.
Like if different things happen to different people, different things are going on, kids get held back, like stuff like that. But until you graduate high school or have ample opportunity to do so,
right?
Yeah, you're your parents' responsibility, and you damn sure don't, the day your child turns 18,
right,
dump them out with nothing.
Right.
Like, I don't care what you gave them before that. The reality is when that child left your house, she had nothing.
Right.
That's it. Like, and how?
Right.
Like, you literally were setting this child up for horrendous failure. I don't care if this is just someone's personal belief that, well, you're an adult now, go fend for yourself.
Right.
Like our legal responsibility is over. No.
Right.
Yeah. Like, that's not how this should work.
No. And furthermore, can we talk about the state of fucking parenting in this country?
Oh, let's. I have some strong feelings. I expressed those earlier today.
We did when we ran up this, but it's like, my fucking God. Parents, teach your kids how to balance money. Teach your kids how to choose things.
Like,
God, save us old men the time and the effort to teach them how to do laundry. Do you know I should have a service on my freaking website called How to Do Laundry, so that when I go into a laundromat and this young child, 18, 19, whatever, 25, 30, is standing there looking at the laundromat, looking at the washer like it's a new invention.
Yeah, no grown adult. Well, and we've actually seen this out of one of the miners when we were still using the laundromat uptown.
Right.
This man tried to put Dawn dish detergent and may have succeeded. We don't know. Like we saw it after, so to speak, after the fact. Like clothes were in the dryer. He may or may not have succeeded.
Mm-hmm.
But he was using Dawn dish detergent in the machine, and I'm like, "Oh, buddy,
Yeah.
like that? No, please don't do that. This is a high efficiency machine on top of everything."
Mm-hmm. He
Oh,
made
it's
mud
not
in
gonna
the
go well.
machine with grease removing properties.
Yeah.
He was a fucking pigpen. We had to intervene. However,
Yeah.
the
But
number
no.
of colleges back in town. We have switched laundromats. We went to a laundromat. It apparently knows how to repair machines.
Well, yeah.
I'm there calmly trying to do our laundry.
Mhm.
There's this little 19-year-old fresh in college trying to do laundry, and he is pestering the poor laundry attendant. Where I put the detergent? What about this? And what's bleach? You're a chemistry major. You let it slip. And you don't know what the hell bleach is? God, save of this
Oh.
country.
Well, maybe if it had, the actual chemical name instead of calling it bleach, like it's chlorine. Maybe if it said chlorine, or no, I'm being funny, but no, I've seen this go two ways, and one of them scares the hell out of me, which is the realization that people have parents who didn't get this,
Right,
and then they've raised children who don't get this,
right,
and it's like, how far back does it go?
right,
Like, how screwed is this family line on basic adulting?
right,
That one scares the crap out of me.
right.
Now, there's another version, and I found this more common in college.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the mama's insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I've determined it is. It is a mama's insurance policy. You have to come home for clean laundry at some point.
Right.
So guaranteed at some point, you will come home to me.
Right.
Because at some point, you will run out of clean clothes and money.
Right. But at the
So,
same time, at this point, it's like, can we not? Can we not have 25-year-olds walking around out here that does not know how to fill out a deposit slip? Can we not have people that do not understand how the economy works? And the news media plays on this so goddamn much. It's ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
The level of it.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts there too.
Right.
Just from like we talk about a world in which people don't cook anymore.
Right.
And that's it. But when you back up to the 80s and 90s, when God knows, employment became a real bitch for everyone.
Right.
Let's just be honest. That not only did you need a two income household to survive, but then that two income household wasn't just working 40 hours a week. It was two people working 50, 60, 70 hours a week. Like coming home after 40 and cooking dinner is a real problem. Coming home after 60 or more hours and thinking you're going to be Donna Reed just ain't happening. Can I microwave it?
Well, yeah, if you prep it on Sunday. But here's my thing, and this is kind of the reason, and I'll be honest, I lost my temper Sunday. I lost my temper Sunday because I'm like, and this is at a house meeting when we were breaking down, and I've now moved to stage 4 of the Friday system called dispersing responsibilities, as your dysfunctional CEO should do. Distractional CEO.
I was going to let it fly. Your dysfunctional CEO. I was like, I love it.
Yeah.
We're putting it on the show. But anyway, go ahead.
But I'm like, these aren't hard concepts, and everybody lost it. And I'm like, I sent you videos. You've seen me do it for 2 months.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm good. I think the form was a little wonky, but yeah, because you had a form and basically, like, yeah, it's a little wonky.
Yeah.
Just because there's so many parts to it.
Right.
And understanding that this one does this and this one does this, and then there's this third one. And they all work a little differently. And no, they're not in order exactly because it's a system that you move things around as you need. That being said, no, I'm good. I get
You're
it.
good. I was talking about other members of the household that were like,
Yeah. Wait, what?
What? You want us to? And this one is what got me. And I just, I went to the gym last night because they're taking over my after dinner routine so I can go to the gym or work or whatever. And they were like, okay, which rooms need mopped? And I'm like, none of them. You're Swiffering.
Yeah.
This room, you've got 15 minutes to do it. That's it. And they're like,
wait, what?
What?
No, I mean, well, and it happens.
Yes.
Like, because technically what you wrote was sweep and mop.
Right.
And to you, you knew what you meant.
Mm-hmm.
But what it said on paper sounded way more involved and complicated.
Right.
Than here's your floor cleaner bottle, here's your, little, wet mop thing, and, spray and swipe.
Right.
And you're good.
Right.
Just, this is about knocking the dirt off enough that once a week mopping makes sense.
Right.
Because we have a 23-year-old Pomeranian who has given up on going outdoors.
Right.
And it is what it is.
Right.
And it's just keep it down so that the once a week mop is good enough.
Right.
And that's all it was. So, yeah. But no.
These are struggles that people go through. This book is an oldie.
Oh.
And I'm going to recommend it to everyone that's struggling with housekeeping and getting teenagers to understand housekeeping. Please go get this book.
Okay.
The Sidetracked Home Executive. It has a lot of processes in there that'll enable people to learn very easily and turn your pig pen into a paradise.
Hey, there you go. All right, so I think we should move right along because you have a relationship advice.
I do. I have a relationship advice. You want to read?
Sure. Help. Do nothing or tell the truth. I'm involved in a situationship with a coworker. Pretty hard because we want to be together, but we can't be together. It was meant to be a secret because a lot of mutual people are involved, and being together with her would mean chaos. But I ended up telling her close friend, we share the same friend circle at the moment, one time, and I ended up keeping that a secret from my coworker. I feel horrible about lying to her. She asked if I've told anyone, and I said no. Now she's opening up to that friend at the same time that I want to come clean to her. She senses that something is up. I told the friend that I want to come clean, but she thinks it's a bad idea. The situationship is coming to an end with high emotional impact. She sensed that I was keeping something from her. I think this one weighs on me quite a bit. And I really want to be honest with her because she's always been honest with me. We're supposedly best friends, but I don't know how to live with such a small lie. But I'm also scared I'll make things even worse if I tell the truth. Should I do it? I think I'm flip-flopping between telling the truth and risking losing them and just sucking it up and hating myself. I could also just cut things off. Things fucking suck right now. This is just the tip of the iceberg with my problems. I tend to be self-destructive, so I'm leaning towards telling the truth to feel better about myself and maybe improving my situation at the cost of potentially causing problems between their relationship. I don't know what to do. Need insight urgently. Sorry if the post isn't very clear. I'm stressed at the moment. Thanks.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth, shut your mouth, shut your mouth.
Yeah, this is one of those, you had one opportunity.
Right.
One and only one opportunity to tell the truth.
Right.
And be like, look, here's what I did. I know we said we weren't going to do that, but I did it anyway. And off it goes.
Right.
And it probably would have been okay.
Right.
But, it's sort of the very, old saying of what a wicked web we weave.
Mm-hmm.
When at first we do deceive. And that,
well, not only that, but here's the other thing. And this is why I say shut your mouth.
Uh-huh.
One, that friend has already told you to shut your mouth. They don't know the facts.
Yeah, like they don't need this. Like, unfortunately, this is the problem. Like, now there's a third party involved who's already lied for you to apparently what sounds like their best friend.
Right.
About the thing that occurred that they've now said didn't occur.
Right.
So if you open up now,
right,
you're not just affecting yourself. You're now making them untrustworthy. Now, granted, that's because they got put into the awkward situation of, and I've been there, of like having to keep confidences between two different people that intersect. That, if person A says, hey, I'm going to tell you this, but don't tell person B that I told you this. And then person B asks you if person A told you the thing. And because you've been sworn to confidence, you say, no, they have not. So you've played dumb. And been like, no, I know nothing about this. You've technically lied for them, but at the same time, you did it because you were holding trust between two different people. Which is a shitty place to be. And I've had to be there before. Like, let me tell you, working IT, we typically usually know who's getting fired before they know they're getting fired.
Right.
And we end up having to actually do that. So yeah, it's a mess.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So Mary's comment.
So yeesh, male and female students took home economics, clothing with fabric care in my era. Plus, my maternal grandmother had her laundry royale routine and methodology. Thank you, my dear grandma. I was 3 years old and learned so much.
Right.
Yeah.
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 But here's the thing, I feel like I have to ask this and already may know the answer. Mary, did your grandmother work? Because I think this is where this all started to fall apart.
Right.
And this is not an indictment of women who work outside the home and the ruination of family. Right. No, it's not that. It's that our lives got so damn complicated that it became easier in a lot of households. She did. Okay. That had been my long running assumption, that we started with people working 50, 60 hours a week, and it just became easier to just do it. Just do it. Just don't even stay away from my washing machine. I don't have time in my life to fix your fuck up.
Right.
That is part of the normal learning process, because I've met no one that starts doing laundry that doesn't have moments. One red sock is all it takes.
Right. All right, guys. We will be back with coffee and tea on Thursday. There is no Mountain Bears this week. There will be Psychic That Plans. We will talk about some of that there. She worked and had a Maytag. There's nothing better than a Maytag. Other than a ringer. I'm sorry. I will take a ringer washer any day. All right.
Thank you.
You guys have an amazing week. We will see you Thursday night with Coffee and Tea. Don't forget, Pagan Pride is this weekend. I will be there leading the panel and around having conversation and teaching Shotgun Tarot. Hopefully, Joe will pull his camera out so he can record it because I want to send it to Guinness, post it to YouTube, and send it to Guinness Book of World Records. We will see if either occur. But otherwise, you guys have an amazing week. And remember that when we do not have guests, our shows are moving to 8 p.m. All shows will technically move over to 8 p.m. after I finish my guest rosters.
Yes. Yeah, because we have some pre-booked, so it's easier to just keep those where they are and not try to reschedule those guests, because we might lose them.
Right.
Because some of them book really tight.
Well, some of them book very tight, but also we're working with time zones.
Oh, yeah.
That's the fun.
Always a nightmare.
Yep.
Oh, it's always fun, but yeah, always a little bit of a nightmare.
Right.
So alrighty. But yeah,
Take it away,
so we want to thank we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryan, Ashley Guest, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Dottie the Psychic, Tracy Van, Donna White, and the Laughing Tree Grove. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. All right, guys. You have an amazing night, and we'll see you later. Good night.
Good night.
Stacked. You can whisper behind my back. You can show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Oh, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop me now.